Maimonides, known as Rambam, is not just because he put all of Jewish law in one place and organized it, but rather Rambam clarified everything for us. Rambam, in his explanation to the Mishnah, describes the whole process of the Torah as a process of learning how to control your emotional reactions, to temper your emotions, and to balance them. So, what is so special about the balance of emotions? The answer is, if you're emotionally sick, that means you're imbalanced, you will be an intellectual cripple. You will not be able to understand and see the obvious. You won't be able to make the proper conclusions. You will make mistake after mistake in the same vein over and over and over again. And the reason for that is because you've become unstable and emotionally imbalanced. This is what has happened to our president, and this is what's happening to American society, especially the society as it is reported by the American left. The president has failed to take action against ISIL, the Islamic Caliphate, the Islamic State that wishes to dominate not just the Middle East, but to destroy not just Israel, but all of Western culture. And it does so in a cruel, vindictive, and horrific way. It takes captives and beheads them. It shoots and kills thousands of innocent people. There is no due process there. These people, these subhuman drivel, have killed tens of thousands of people. You don't hear the president railing against them. But the president did take time out of his busy schedule to scold Benjamin Netanyahu for protecting his people, because there are thousands, 2,000 Gazan victims, many of whom, about 40%, were actually fighters who hid behind the children and the women who were killed inadvertently because Israel was trying to defend itself. So that is criticized, but ISIL is given short shrift and no plan whatsoever on the part of the president. And he publicizes this. You know what that does? That tells ISIL that it can continue doing what it's doing with impunity. This is a horrible, horrible indictment, not just of the West, but all those institutions that subscribe to this ideology of the president. I'm not saying that everything he says is wrong or everything that he does is wrong. I'm saying that the president has issues that have imbalanced him, and as a result of that, can't make rational decisions, logical decisions that people would ordinarily make. And the reason for that is, as we said, if you're sick emotionally, you're going to become an intellectual cripple. Let's get some of the issues that are at the core of America's emotional illness. Number one, We celebrate people being deviants. People who get away with raping, with fathering many children and not taking care of them. People who kill their babies, kill their children. And people who don't marry, who have sex out of wedlock, and sex between similar sexes is celebrated. People who object to this kind of behavior are called evil, homophobes, and anti-women. What's anti-women about wanting to protect the unborn? What's anti-gay about wanting that the people who have this nature try to overcome it? Just because you want to do something doesn't mean it's good for you. There are lots of people who are anorexic. Is that good for them? Should you leave them the way they are? They'll hurt themselves and destroy themselves. If a person starts pulling out their hair, is that a good thing? They like it. They enjoy it. It's natural for them. You might even discover a gene for people who pull out their hair. Just because you've determined that it is a natural process, it's not natural in the animal world. They've tried to say that animals are attracted to the similar sexes. It's just not true. Occasionally, there's been a foul-up, but it just doesn't happen. The plumbing, the whole setup of the human being, the human physical setup, is for men to have relations with women, and the purpose of that is to have children. You don't want a kid? Don't have sex. There are other ways of dealing with it, yeah. But murder shouldn't be one of them. And abortion is murder. Plain and simple, abortion is murder. And when you murder someone and you justify that murder, you will justify other murders. And that's what's happening with what they call medicide or assisted suicide. You establish a standard of what is called quality of life. If someone doesn't have quality of life, doctors determine that they're going to withhold nutrients from your loved ones. And what happens when you hold back on nutrients? The patient dies. My mother was not being given nutrients in the hospital she was in. And the doctor argued with me. And thankfully, she was moved to a different part of the hospital, and there they gave her nutrients. A year later, she's still alive and enjoying life. Yes, she can't get around, it's true. But her children come to visit her. Her grandchildren hug her. She's seen about 50 great-grandchildren in the last year. And tell me that's not quality of life. But she'd be dead if it was up to the doctors. And the reason why the doctors are so screwed up is because they've accepted this idea that if life is unwanted, we can get rid of it. And that is the Achilles heel of America. America is permissive. America allows for the death of innocent children. And when you do that, you lose your moral compass and you can't understand who's a killer and who's legitimately involved in self-defense. And that's why we've got the business with Ferguson, despite the fact that the greatest problem to the black community isn't white on black crime, it's black on black crime. The reason why the media fans on it is because the media is all messed up. The media itself is emotionally imbalanced. And if you're all screwed up emotionally, you can't think rationally.